How we do this, we the truest. Got these fangs super sharp, your shit toothless. Cold-hearted, yeah we ruthless. All the ghouls in the cut, let's get ghoulish. In the graveyard, acting foolish. Finna dance with the devil to no music. Cold-hearted, yeah we ruthless. All the ghouls in the cut, let's get ghoulish.
Oh boy, it's a new episode of a podcast called GHOULISH. I am an undead host. My name is Max Booth, and you are listening to my spooky podcast. On today's episode, I have Todd Keisling returning to the show talking about Devil's Creek, both his novel and a real place, Devil's Creek. Didn't know it was a real place? Ha 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 ha! Ha ha! You fool! It is, and we talk about it in the episode. So check that out and go pick up a copy of Todd's novel, Devil's Creek. It looks like a fun book for the whole family to enjoy. For those following along, we recently launched a Kickstarter for Ghoulish Books that has now ended. It ended just a couple days ago. We were quite successful. We raised just over 25,000, which is holy shit because the initial goal we had was 7,000. So we more than tripled that. Of course, right now we're in the stage where Kickstarter is trying to process the fees, and it was like over $1,000 in failed payments that they were trying to fix. So hopefully those all go through. And plus, the crowdfunding service takes like almost 10% out of whatever I get, including processing fees. So I'm not getting 25,000. I'm still getting a lot. Although, of course, I mean, I'm not rich or anything. Most of that money goes to the book production costs. It will be going to every author will get paid royalties on the books that we sold through Kickstarter. So it's not like, oh boy, Max Booth just got a bunch of cash. Let's go track him down and take him to a ditch and shoot him a bunch of times and then take all of his money. Still no money. I also just bought a bookshop. I'm quite deep in poverty at the moment. So please consider going to patreon.com/PMM Publishing. There's also a link to the show notes. You'll see a Linktree link in the show notes of this episode for Ghoulish Books, and if you click on that, there's all types of fun things you can find, such as the Patreon. Check it out if you want, and or maybe just go to ghoulishbooks.com and buy some spooky books. My new book, Abnormal Statistics, comes out the end of March. It's being published through Apocalypse Press. It's my collection of spooky short fiction. Includes a new novella, never before published, called Indiana Death Song. Quite happy with how that novella came out. I'm excited about this collection. Consider pre-ordering that any place you buy books. Preferably not Amazon, but hey, if that's your only choice, go ahead. I'm not gonna be bad. I'm not even gonna be sad. I'll be excited that you have any enthusiasm for anything I've written. And now, this episode with Todd Keisling about Devil's Creek is about to begin playing into your brain. If you haven't already, consider rating and reviewing the Ghoulish podcast on the places you can do that. iTunes, yup. Don't know about any other place that you can do that. I don't know much about podcasts, despite spending so much of my time making them. Maybe not the best decision on my end. I don't know. Okay. Devil's Creek time, folks. Todd, you wrote a book called Devil's Creek. It came out a while ago, but then it just came out again. Explain yourself.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. No, so Devil's Creek was published by Silver Shamrock back in 2020, and Silver Shamrock went belly up amid controversy when the publisher said some really stupid things, um, and published some really stupid things. But I'm not going to go into that. Uh, the main part is that they went out of business, and Devil's Creek went out of print. Uh, and Cemetery Dance picked it up along with another book of mine that's coming out this summer, and here we are. So that's the reason for this
Yes.
tonight.
Also, the I just didn't have anyone else, so I said, "Hey Todd, please come on my podcast."
I'm
I know you.
glad.
I know
I'm
you just
glad
woke up, Todd. Please help.
I'm old faithful to you, and that you can. Well, there's always Keisling.
Well, we had talked about you coming on already,
Yeah.
and I was waiting until I could read the book. But I'll be honest, I bought a copy from you, Todd. I don't know what I did with it. It's
Okay.
gone. It's missing.
Well, shit, Max. You'll just have to buy another one.
I'll wait until my bookshop is open, then I'll just stock it and read it
There
on
you
the
go.
sly. Yeah. I also saw there was an audiobook, and I've been getting into audiobooks lately, so I was thinking about maybe picking it up that way.
Yeah, you definitely do that. The narrator Danny Campbell did a great job with it.
Nice. Do you listen to many audiobooks or no?
I try to. I used to when I was commuting a lot for work, but
Mm-hmm.
since I'm self-employed, I'm always home. So not so much anymore, but sometimes when I'm battling insomnia, which I do seemingly regularly these days,
Yeah.
I will put a podcast on and just set a timer on, or not a podcast, excuse me, an audiobook, and set a timer on it so that, you know, I kind of ingest the story as I'm in that weird place between consciousness and sleep.
I didn't know you could set a timer on an audiobook because
You
that
can set, yeah, the
wow.
Audible app has or at least the Android version of the app has a timer on it, so you can
Hmm.
like set it for an hour.
Interesting. I use a company called Libro.fm, so I wonder if they also have this option. That would be pretty cool.
Hmm.
I same boat as you. I used to listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of audiobooks back when I was employed like at a hotel because there's no one around and you just have to mop and do brainless documents. So it was easy to listen to things as you also did these tasks. But since quitting that job and doing just like creative stuff at home, I find that any podcast or audiobook listening has gone straight to shit. So I've been trying to like listen to audiobooks while going on like a daily walk or something. Otherwise, it just doesn't happen.
You definitely have to be, in the right headspace for it. Usually when I'm kind of just relaxing, it's a way for me to still get some reading in,
Yeah.
even when I'm not, I'm just trying to fall asleep.
It
I don't
used
know.
to
It makes
go
for
ahead.
some pretty wicked dreams.
Can you think of any book specifically that has given you a wicked dream?
Uh, I listened to the uh, audiobook for Stephen King's It that's read
Yeah.
by Steven Weber, and it's incredible. Um, and I can't remember the dream specifically, but I know I had it did involve not a clown, but
Paul
a
Bunyan?
no, it was the leper,
hmm
the leper on Nebel Street, and but it was talking with Steven Weber's voice, and not his like character voice, but his normal voice. It was kind
Yeah.
of weird.
So, if I recall correctly, that book, like every kid would have some type of encounter with it based off of whatever they were like most afraid of, right?
Yeah.
If you were living in that town at that time, how would it have personified to you?
Uh,
What a question. God damn.
that's a great question. I'm going to have to think about that for a second. That's so how old were the kids? They were like 10,
12.
11, 12.
Yeah.
Okay. How old was that? What was I afraid of when I was 12 years old?
I'll go while you think. So when I was 12, it was around then, maybe a few years before then, the movie 8 Mile came out. Eminem's magnum opus. And everyone in my school began doing battle raps. And I was terrified that one day someone would challenge me to a battle rap because I have immense social anxiety. But I would think, like, I would stay up sometimes, like, oh, fuck. Someone's going to challenge me in the hallway and I'm going to have to rap. I was legit afraid that this would happen. So I believe this space entity would personify as Eminem. He would challenge me to a rap and then probably eat me at the end.
All I can think of is mom's spaghetti.
How terrifying would that be if, like, his limbs were these noodles that just
Oh God.
stretched to infinity and then wrapped around me? I don't know.
Um, he'd probably manifest as the guy who started bullying me in middle school and continued through high school. So
Yeah.
it's a bit more, serious than Eminem and sudden rap battles.
Oh, this
But
was serious as well.
oh, I had to put the light on because my camera keeps losing focus.
You have a fancy camera.
The Logitech Brio, I got it because during the pandemic, because this was becoming more of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like a 4K webcam.
Wow, I just have whatever's built into my Mac. I don't know what kind it is.
I'm sure that's pretty good.
I assume it's on at all times, even as I'm sleeping, watching me.
Yeah, I keep a cover on mine,
Yeah.
even when it's not, when it's not on, just because I know how easy something like that can be manipulated.
I always think I should. And then I'm like, maybe I want them to watch me.
If they're watching me, they're going to be really disappointed.
What would they see on a day-to-day basis?
Me looking at Photoshop like this.
Then you get an email from some hackle sending you a photo of you doing that, saying, "Send us 8,000 Bitcoin, or we're gonna leak this to the web."
Like, dude, I'm a fucking freelancer. I don't have that kind of money. Give me a break.
How much is 8,000 Bitcoin? I don't know.
Oh God, 8,000 Bitcoin. If I had to guess, it's probably like millions of dollars. I think one Bitcoin alone, one full Bitcoin is worth it, or at least it used to be. I don't know what it is now since the crypto crash, but one Bitcoin at one point was a lot of money.
You a Bitcoin guy?
No, I prefer real currency.
Back when I was looking at the hotel, this guy who used to look like the shift I would often relieve, he was big into Bitcoin, and he would try to talk me into going in with him every time I saw him. It was a lot to deal with.
Yeah, it's too complicated, and I've tried to simplify my life as much as possible.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about Devil's Creek. Now,
Okay.
I already admitted I'm a bad friend, have not read it yet.
Okay.
What I know about it is it's some type of Jim Jones type of thing going on, right?
Yes and no.
Okay, well, I couldn't find my copy of Devil's Creek, but
It's
I do
okay.
have this massive Jim Jones book next to me. Have you read this? It's called Raven.
I haven't. So
Neither would I.
Devil's Creek is about the survivors of a death cult, and basically the repercussions of growing up in a small town as this, as a survivor of a death cult.
Yeah.
And the ramifications of that. It kind of explores like how that would impact someone's life. and the cult itself is a lot more than just a death cult. It's kind of like a cosmic horror cult as well. Basically, a minister hears the voice of a god talking to him, not from heaven but from below in the earth, and it slowly corrupts him, and its influence spreads to the congregation. Over time, they basically like sell off all their belongings and their homes and whatnot, and they move and build this compound in the forest outside of this town called Stafford. And this is all backstory.
Yeah.
The book actually begins with the grandparents of these children. They're racing to get back to the compound in order to save their grandkids, because they're going to be sacrificed to this god that the minister hears in his head. That's how the book starts. And then,
that's nice Disney opening.
Oh yeah, totally. It's fun for the whole family. A lot of family themes in there. And that's kind of the basis for the book.
Yeah.
And so inspiration wise, like Devil's Creek is a real place. If you had your copy, the first page is a street sign. That's actually the real street sign that my wife Erica took a photograph.
Now, if I listen to the audiobook, what am I listening to on this page?
Nothing. Just dead air. Sorry, I couldn't think of anything clever there. So, Devil's Creek's a real place. The town of Stafford, Kentucky is actually my hometown, Corbin, Kentucky. I changed the name just so I could take some liberties with the geography, and change some business names as well so I don't get sued.
Yeah.
But anybody who's from that area will recognize it immediately in the book. So Devil's Creek was a source of urban legend for me growing up. I heard all sorts of stories. There actually was a church out there in the middle of the wilderness, and it burned down under mysterious circumstances. Nobody seemed to know. So I grew up hearing all sorts of shit like, oh, the townspeople burned it down because it had been desecrated by Satanists, or Satanists burned it down because it was, it was a place of Christ or whatever. And there's nobody really left alive who knows the real story because it happened so long ago. So
when did it happen?
Like early 20th century.
Okay.
Or I think that's the thing. Nobody could tell me exactly when it happened. They weren't sure because they had heard about it growing up.
So in the spot now, has something else been rebuilt, or you just go and it's a bunch of old ashes you can stand in and play in or something?
So full disclosure, I've never actually been out there.
Oh.
Because I was forbidden from going, and knowing the area that it's in, it's not a place you would go alone.
Okay.
Because it is incredibly isolated. If you want, I can put on screen share. I can show you the location of where it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you said you were forbidden from going.
Okay, that was my mother.
Okay.
My mother forbade me from going, because I'm 17 and I can drive, and
yeah,
I'm asking her about this place, and this is really where my interest in it and the seed of the story took root.
Yeah.
I'm 17. I'm asking her about this place because I've heard the stories about it. I also know it's a place where the more popular kids will go out and party on a Friday night, drink, do drugs, and a lot of the stories and happenings out there. I come from here, from them. So I'm telling her about this, and I'm asking her, and she says, I go, so have you ever been there? She
Yeah.
said, yes, I have. When I was younger. And so I said, so what's out there? And she says, nothing. And if I ever find out you went there, I will take your keys away.
Right.
Like, okay. So me being me, I continue to prod her about this because I'm curious. Like, all right, so if you're not gonna, if you're gonna forbid me from ever going out there, uh, at least, what was it about this place that, you know, is so bad? She's like, well, that's the thing. There's nothing there. It's just a clearing where the old church used to be. And when I was there, there were no, there was no sound. There was no crickets. There was no insects. No birds chirping. It was just a void. And that stuck with
Wow.
me, obviously.
I would hope so.
Yeah, that's a
Wow.
pretty ominous. That's a pretty ominous thing to say.
Yeah.
And if you turn on screen share,
Okay.
I can show you.
Do I need to do anything on my end?
Go down to security and just
yes.
check screen sharing.
Oh, yes. Okay. You now have complete freedom to show me anything you want.
Okay. Anything?
No.
All right.
Only spooky things.
So you see the map?
No, not yet. It's loading. Now I
Okay.
can. Yeah.
All right. So over here is the town of Corbin, the basis for Stafford.
Okay.
And in the new edition, you can actually see the map and everything at the beginning of the book. So
If anyone listening wanted to also see this, what should they be typing in to?
You can type in Corbin, Kentucky, 40701. That's the zip code.
Okay.
And it's about, in the book, I say it's about 15 miles. The truth is, I don't really know exactly how far out it is, but
yeah.
So all this out here is national forest.
Okay.
You would turn off. The Devil's Creek Road is like right there.
Okay.
And you would go all the way up here.
I would not.
This is where Devil's Creek is, rough estimation.
All right.
The location where the church was. Why the fuck they built a church out here in the middle of goddamn nowhere? It's beyond me.
Now my question is, what came first, the church or the name Devil's Creek?
I don't know. I mean, there's like a bunch of different creeks that, splinter off from the Cumberland River. Like there's Dog Slaughter Creek, there's Devil's Creek. I actually mentioned Dog Slaughter in the book. I don't know why the hell it's called Dog Slaughter. So I just made up something creepy.
Yeah. Like opening a church on Devil's Creek, it's like opening a rescue dog center on Dog Slaughter Creek. Doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, it's but it's Kentucky, man. Kentucky's fucking weird.
Well, I have questions. So, I believe you still live in Kentucky, right? So, do you live? No,
No, I live in Pennsylvania.
Aha. Do you ever go back to Kentucky? Well, not so much. I don't know what your situation is.
My situation.
You might be on the run. I don't know.
Yo, yeah, they're looking for me in Kentucky. No.
You did demand I use one of those voice modifiers when I go to edit this, so no one could identify you.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll never go back to Kentucky. No, most of my friends from that time in my life have moved away, or we just don't talk anymore. And I have some family left, but a lot of my family have moved out of the state.
Yeah.
So the last time I was down there was 2021. I went down
okay.
to visit an old friend of mine. Stayed with him for a few days, and took the opportunity to see family. And I also took I went to Devil's Creek, but I didn't actually like go down the road and stuff.
Well, that was my question: is if you had been tempted to go find this
So
place since looking on the book.
Laurel Hightower wants to like organize a Devil's Creek tour
Yes,
in
that's what I'm
town.
saying.
And it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's a matter of timing and getting everybody, me being there first of all.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, think
like I said,
about this. Devil's Creek 2 is a meta book about the author Todd Keisling and several of his Kentucky friends tracking this place down and then going crazy in the woods.
no, you're thinking of Blair Witch 2, The Book of Shadows.
Haven't seen it.
Be
Is
serious.
that the plot?
That is like it's a meta story about uh this guy who does like Blair Witch
No, no.
tours, and he takes a tour group into the
Yeah.
woods around Burkittsville, and they go insane. Sorry if I spoiled that 20-year-old movie, folks, but
This is
uh
always happening to me. I'm pitching ideas and it's
like
something else.
see, I can't tell if you're serious right now.
I have not seen it. I thought this was a brilliant idea. Okay,
No, it's
scratch
not.
that. I have a different idea you can
No,
do.
it's a terrible idea.
Devil's Creek 2. Okay. One day, the citizens of Devil's Creek they realize this mysterious dome has been put around the town. They can't get out.
Simpsons did it.
All right. Well, when you were writing this book, did you have any like temptation to go find this, or you just never like? I forget. You told me where you live, and plus I've published you and sent you books. I can't remember what state you live in anymore.
I live in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. I assume that's side by side with Kentucky. I don't know geography.
It's okay. No, Kentucky's like a 11-hour drive for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like at the time that I was writing it,
Yeah.
I hadn't given any consideration of going back to my hometown just because uh other circumstances. And what's strange is that the whole premise, like the setup for the book, like after everything happens that I've just mentioned,
Yeah.
we jump ahead 30 years, and it starts with one of the kids now grown up going back to his hometown because his grandmother has passed away, and he's going back to settle her estate. So in 2018, some 5 months or so after I finished writing the first draft, I found myself in that same exact situation. Like the first time I'd been back to my hometown in like 5 or 6 years was because my grandmother had passed away.
Wow.
And I went back for the funeral, and I got another story idea out of that that's going to become the follow up to Devil's Creek, oddly enough. So, but it's not called Devil's Creek 2, sorry to say.
Is a dome utilized at all?
No, a dome is not utilized.
Think about it. That's all I'm saying. That is nuts, and I can relate because I don't know if I told you this or not, but I'm in the process of writing this novel that I began last year, and the plot is basically this guy has to go back to his hometown and kind of reunite with his two brothers who he hasn't seen in a long time due to well the reanimation of the dead mom. And while writing that book, I had
Oh
basically that
god.
same thing happen, but with the opposite of reanimation. I found it really surreal, and the book is not even close to being done due to how odd it
Yeah.
felt. I had to stop writing that for a while, but It is strange when something that you were working on suddenly becomes a real life.
It is kind of weird, and in some cases, in my experience, it always ends up being a case of art imitating life. Like my first novel, the main character is essentially a telemarketer,
Hmm.
and like a few months after I wrote it, I switched jobs and found myself working in a call center doing tech support, and I started to kind of like embody the feelings that I had been writing about in that book. So it was very strange and surreal to experience that.
Wow.
So I
Just
can't
think.
imagine like being in the middle of a project and then something
Yeah.
eerily similar to what you're writing about actually happens. I think I would take time away from the project too.
Yeah. I mean, imagine reading Devil's Creek 2, and then you go outside, and there's a dome blocking you're
Oh
finding the
my
town.
god, it's just like that Simpsons movie and the Stephen King book.
I uh I just have domes on my brain now, so
It's okay. That's what the shitty Hollywood adaptation would have as a dome. Like it's kind of like that guy that Kevin Smith was going to work with. It's like, but what if there's a giant spider in the third act?
yeah. But instead of a spider, a
It's a
dome.
dome.
Devil's Dome.
Devil's Dome. There we
Yeah.
go.
Have you run into anyone? Have you met anyone besides your mom who has been to Devil's Creek, and what did they tell
Like
you?
a lot of my friends, my more extroverted and popular friends than I was, have been there. Um, a friend of mine used to live close to Devil's Creek Road. I mean, it's very much, or at least it was when I was in high school, a party spot.
Yeah,
Like
so your mom had like these really creepy details about it. Was that just something she only observed, or like the other
I don't,
people
I
also saying this?
I don't know. Like the my peers, their stories were more like, you know, so and so saw this, and we heard these really creepy sounds, and like we drove around, drove because there's like a remains of like a driveway where the church foundation is. That's all overgrown by now. So there's basically like a clearing in the woods,
Mm-hmm.
and there's basically a traffic circle
Yeah.
around the foundation. And guy I was friends with back in those days told me that they had gone out there, and he's in the back seat of his friend's car, and they heard this story that if you drove around the circle after a certain time of night, when you get to about the midway point, your car would shut off.
Okay.
Right? The engine would just die.
Yeah.
And he swears that this happened to him. And while they're like actively freaking out, he said he looked out into the tree line, because the forest is all around them, and he saw a figure standing there at the tree line watching them.
Yeah.
And you know that's I had heard stories, similar stories of people saying that they felt watched. They felt like something was in the trees watching them while they were there, like they weren't supposed to be there. It's probably just some crazy hillbilly with a
Always.
hockey mask or something. um but the stories were frequent enough, or abundant enough, I should say, that you know it stuck. So in the book, there are shadowy figures that kind of manifest in the darkness of the woods. Um, all that stuff kind of just swirled around in my head for, years and years,
Yeah.
and until it became what's out there in print now,
Devil's Creek by
which is
Todd.
which is available from Cemetery Dance.
We mentioned that, yeah, in the really beginning. It's
Oh,
out.
I was being facetious.
It's out now, right?
Yeah, it's out now.
Yeah, it has a An excellent book trailer.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I've told you that before, though. After recording. No, I'm telling you twice.
I don't mind.
I'm going nuts because I had a question a second ago. Yeah, it's completely blanked on it now. I hate when that happens. Oh yes, I know. You mentioned the friend's vehicle just shut off when he was driving, and that makes sense to me because when you were showing me the map, I believe I
Yeah.
saw in that spot a mechanic.
Yes. There is a an auto shop, near the highway where you would turn off onto Devil's Creek Road.
It's kind of like when you like open up a funeral home next to like an old folks place.
Yeah.
Same thing, but when all these people keep losing electricity on the locales. Why not open a mechanic shop next to the spooky woods? That would be a great TV show, like a one of those like office job shows, but a mechanic who just happens to have set up shop next to spooky woods. Will Girls
It's
drive in and they don't leave.
it's like the Sentinel figure in Cabin in the Woods where he's like there to warn all the kids.
Yeah.
Like that, except way more mundane and
Do you
less
think?
creepy.
Do you think that's included? Oh wait, no. I feel a second. I mashed together Little Cabin in the Woods and Paul Tremblay's book. Different cabins.
No, different cabins.
Different cabins. Yeah. Easy mistake. Easy mistake. Um, I did you do much research into these death cults while writing the book?
So there was one documentary I watched about Jonestown. So it's funny you mentioned Jim Jones at the beginning. I watched a documentary, pretty in-depth documentary. I can't remember the name of it. About him, the whole like start of his church and his his personality, who he was as a person, and it kind of climaxes with the mass suicide in South America. And that's not, I don't recommend starting your day on a Saturday with that documentary because it'll ruin the rest of your weekend.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
not an uplifting story.
end like Sunday night by watching it, but don't
Yeah.
begin sadly milling.
It almost makes sense watching it at the end of a Sunday night, knowing you have to go into work the next day.
Yeah.
It almost makes sense in a way. Yeah, so I kind of absorbed that and dwelled on that for a while, and also just looked at televangelists' rhetoric, their language, and that's a big thing with cults, is that the leader of said cult, they really do rewire your way of thinking with repetition of language. And I really latched onto that concept, and I used that in Devil's Creek quite heavily.
Yeah.
To the point that some people complained about it originally.
How so?
Oh, they complained about the repetition of certain phrases.
I see.
I'm like, that's not a bug, that's a feature. But
Oh, do you think they will like, oh, it's a typo? Like they
no, I
must.
think they thought it
Oh,
was just bad writing,
this fucking
which is
guy.
fine.
He
They're
wrote the
entitled
same
to
thing
think that.
twice.
My
He
God,
doesn't
he
even
just says the
know.
same thing over and over. I can't stop thinking about it. Like, that's
I think I'm gonna kill myself in the field now. um, yikes! I completely forgot I owned this giant book called Raven until seconds before we began recording, and it was right next to my bookshelf, like it was tempting me to pick it up and show you. I don't know if I'll ever read this thing. It's like 1,000 pages long, but it's cool looking.
like
I wonder if you could see your own reflection in his shades. Maybe sunglasses don't look like that when it's on a book cover. Probably not. I don't know. I don't know
God.
much about sunglasses.
If for readers who are interested, I actually recommend checking out the last podcast on the Left series about Jim Jones and Jonestown.
Do they play the recordings on it?
They do.
Yikes.
But
Don't do
it's
that
a
on
lot.
a Saturday.
I find it's easier to just listen to it than to actually see what goes along with it.
Yeah.
Seeing all of that is, I mean, that's like a scanline situation. You don't unsee that. It's pretty horrible.
I've only listened to a few episodes of the last podcast on the Left, and the topics always seem so fascinating that, man, something about the way those hosts talk, they just drive me away, like,
I get
immediately.
It. It's hard to go back to their older episodes. They're a lot more palatable these days, but totally understand.
Maybe that's what I need to do. Whenever I discover a new podcast, I always insist on going to the very first episode and working my way up. But maybe if I jumped way ahead, that would help.
Yeah. These days, I mostly listen to the last podcast to fall asleep, or I'll just put a podcast on. But usually, like tonight, tomorrow night, I'll probably listen to their new episode and conk out 20 minutes into it because I'm old.
That's okay. It happens to. Well, I was going to say everybody, but not everybody. Bleak, just like Devil's Creek, I assume. How can folks find you online?
I'm all over the place. My website is toddkeisling.com. Newly renovated website, I should say. But I'm also on Twitter at Todd_Keisling. Instagram, Todd Keisling, all one word. Also on TikTok, newly on TikTok. Trying to get with the times and, make videos. I mean, I'm not good at it like you are, Max. So.
Thank you. If you decide to take me up on my totally original idea of going into the woods and going crazy, you can make it as a TikTok. Several TikToks.
Totally could.
You could do the dome idea as a TikTok because domes are invisible, I think. So you could just pretend like you can mime it. Like, oh no, I can't get through.
See, what would happen would be some clever cuts to make it. I would basically get like a clear Tupperware container and just lower that down in front of the camera and have like a depth of field thing so it looks like it's coming over me. Like, no.
And then smash cut. Devil's Dome coming soon.
I might actually have to like stitch some audio from this and do that.
I would love it. I don't think anyone's ever used that idea before, and I think it's up for grabs for you. I give it to you as a gift. So
thank you. Royalty free. That's pretty generous.
I will take 10%. I take 10% of any Dome books you put out from here on out. Okay. Thank you for doing this podcast. This was fun. I hope it leaves people excited to read Devil's Creek. I hope it makes them excited to join a death cult, perhaps. Whatever they want to do, go fill it. Do you have any last bits of wisdom for those interested in any of these things?
I thought you were going to say, do you have any last words? Like, are you killing me now? No.
No.
Last bits of wisdom. So I've been playing the Dead Space remake.
Yeah.
Always go for the limbs.
And that could be said for anything in life.
Yeah. That's take into context whatever you will. Always go for the limbs.
And that was Todd Keisling talking about Devil's Creek. Go buy that book now from Cemetery Dance. Then go pre-order my new novel. Nope. Wrong. I'm wrong. It's a collection. It's called Abnormal Statistics. Coming out in March. Go buy that any place you buy books. Also, go to ghoulishbooks.com. Buy some of the spooky books we publish, such as Todd Keisling's Scam Lines. We published that book and it's available. You can buy it. It's bleak as hell. Just like Devil's Creek. Bleakness all around. Hell yeah!
Live spooky, die spooky.
Rest in peace, Max.